Thank you everyone for joining us at CCIR Academy's global launch event for the 2021-2022 autumn winter sessions. It's lovely to see that there are some familiar names in the chat box. People from the essay competition, from the YIP CCIR conference, and some students that I've already met in the past. So lovely to see you guys. For the new folk, welcome. Really excited today to share a little bit about what we do here at CCIR, the kinds of opportunities that we have on offer, and how these kinds of opportunities can benefit you or your students. Okay, so to begin, I'm gonna give a quick overview of the agenda today. I'll talk a little bit about who we are, what we do at CCIR as a whole. Then I'll go into more detail about the CCIR Academy and the programs that we have there, talking a little bit about both the value of pursuing academic research at a high school and undergraduate level, and the details of our programs. One of the more exciting things that we'll be talking about today is going into some detail about the kinds of courses that we have on offer now at the Future Scholar program. We have 21 exciting new courses at the Future Scholar program, from everything from quantum computing to the ethics of AI. So really excited to share everything with you guys. To begin, a little bit about us as an organization. CCIR was founded by a group of Cambridge graduates, including myself, who are committed to making academic research more accessible to the public. So we work with leading researchers, for the most part from Oxford, Cambridge, and leading Ivy League universities, and early career academics. And what we seek to do as a whole is to expand the reach and impact of the ideas that matter. So to this end, we have two arms of our operations. We have what we call the CCIR think tank, which is where we host most of our nonprofit activities. And then we have the CCIR Academy, where we have a number of educational opportunities open for high school students and undergraduates, where they get to pursue high-level independent research with leading academics from Oxford, Cambridge, and Ivy League universities. So we like to think of ourselves not just as a think tank, not just as an academy. We like to think of ourselves as really building a network of knowledge. What this means is that there's three core components to what we do. We empower researchers, we disseminate knowledge, and we democratize research. So in the CCIR think tank, we have what we call the CCIR fellowships, for instance, where we support early career academics with to do public knowledge projects. You can check out our podcasts on YouTube and on Apple Podcasts. We have a public lecture initiative, which brings our partner lecturers to high schools around the world to give free talks on their research. And we host a number of nonprofit conferences and competitions over the year. And a number of the students here I've seen were actually students from those conferences and competitions. We hosted just last month a policython in collaboration with Youth Institute in Policy, where we brought in leading academics and social media influencers over 2 days, and students got to work with these different types of stakeholders on the question of social media and politics. And the final thing that we really focus on at CCIR is to democratize research. Here, what we try to do is provide gifted students with opportunities to conduct independent research with leading academics and industry experts. And this is, I assume, sort of the main reason you guys are here today, which is to learn a little bit more about the Future Scholar program and the one-on-one mentorship. We also have a Cambridge Startup Tech Camp. That's a summer program that we offer, and we're not going to focus so much on that today. We're going to focus exclusively on the Future Scholar and the one-on-one mentorship. Okay, so at the CCIR Academy, our goal is to help you pursue your passions through conducting independent research under the mentorship of leading academics. So before I go into the details of the program, I really want to take a step back and talk a little bit about the value of research just in general. So you guys are all here either as parents, teachers, counselors, or students because you're interested in pursuing a research program. But there are two prior questions that we have to sort out, which is one, what is research? And two, why should I conduct, or why should my student conduct a research project? What sorts of benefits does a research project give that an ordinary high school curriculum, for instance, doesn't offer? Well, the way we like to think about research is between a basic division between what we call active and passive learning, and a much more agential approach to learning. In most traditional high school contexts, learning is conducted through transmission, where teachers have the knowledge and they transmit the knowledge to the students, which are then tested and using examinations and other sort of mechanisms to ensure that the transmission was successful. The difference with research is we're not so interested in transmission as so much as the creation of knowledge. A researcher doesn't simply find out what other people have already done, although that's a big part of what doing research is. Research is really about bringing in existing knowledge, synthesizing it, making new connections, and creating knowledge and advancing knowledge through your own work. One of the really distinct things about especially the CCIR programs is that we have extremely small class sizes. The Future Scholar program has 2 to 5 students per class, and the one-on-one mentorship naturally has one mentor for every student. What this means is that our faculty, we like to think of really not as simply teachers, but as mentors and exemplars. The difference here is that teachers simply, again, to hammer the point, teachers simply transmit knowledge, whereas an exemplar and a mentor is really providing guidance and inspiration and a foundational relationship that is the base upon which the teaching occurs. Through a research project, you're able to really dive deep and study what you love. You're able to explore things and discover your passions in a way that that ordinary high school contexts really don't allow you to do. And I think it's worth mentioning that conducting high-level independent research is really an excellent way also to showcase your intellectual potential and your intellectual passion. This is something that as parents, counselors, teachers, and students, we all do care about, which is a lot of us are thinking about applying to college, and we're seeking that sort of unique admissions edge, the way to stand out. And pursuing an academic research project really gives you a very specific angle in terms of admissions for 2 reasons. I think from an admissions perspective, admissions officers are generally speaking looking for 2 things. They're looking for your intellectual and academic ability, and then they're looking for your personal strength and passion. This is typically showcased in 2 avenues. You would have sort of your extracurriculars, your personal assignments, your personal essays that showcase your personal strength and passion, and then you would have your GPA and your SAT showcasing your academic strengths. The unique thing about pursuing an academic research project is that it really manages to marry these 2 interests of the admissions officer. You're looking at a project that at once demonstrates your academic strength and your personal strength. And I think this is one of the interesting things about pursuing research is that research is rather difficult. It requires a lot of effort and a lot of work on your part. And I should mention that I myself am in a PhD program. I'm doing my doctorate dissertation currently in philosophy. And I can say from firsthand experience that research is really, really difficult as a set of personal practical skills. And through pursuing a research project, what you're doing is not simply cultivating yourself intellectually, you're cultivating yourself also on a personal, I want to say, because of my philosophy background, on an ethical level as well. So I want to sort of give a quick highlight of the programs at CCIR Academy before I dive into the details of the Future Scholar and one-on-one mentorship program. Both our programs are highly selective online research programs that are designed and taught by Oxbridge and Ivy League faculty. When we say designed and taught, we mean that our courses are all, we give our faculty a massive amount of freedom, and in terms of how they want to design their courses. We defer to the experts in terms of the course design, and the teaching is done directly by these leading academics and researchers. So at the CCIR Academy, we really try to maintain highly rigorous standards. We have incredibly competitive admissions. I'll be providing some statistics on admissions just later. And we try to maintain an incredibly high academic standard within the program. This means that the students that come in are extremely strong. We have our students come from extremely strong backgrounds with, I believe in the summer round, we had an average GPA of something like 3.75 and a SAT that, an average incoming SAT of something around 1510, if I'm not mistaken. And we really expect our students to put in the work to produce something incredibly impressive and excellent by the end of our programs. That being said, our academic year program is specifically tailored to the schedule of the academic year. This means that our pacing of the academic year program will be slightly different from the way we pace the summer program. We try to do this in a way that doesn't cut down on the rigor of the program and yet maintain the flexibility and try to acknowledge how incredibly busy high school students these days are. The second thing to mention about our academy programs is that we exclusively partner with Oxbridge and Ivy faculty. This means that we don't work with PhD students as the leading lecturers of our programs. All our lecturers for our programs are assistant professors or above who are current teaching faculty at Oxford, Cambridge, and Ivy League universities. This means that you're not getting retired professors, you're not getting PhD students, you're getting folk who are currently in the departments doing research, doing the teaching at Oxford, Cambridge, and Ivy League universities. In addition, we exclusively partner with researchers who are also passionate educators. When we interview our potential partners, we ensure that the lecturers who are working with us are really the ones who are here because they love to teach. They're not simply the leading researchers of the world, they're some of the most passionate educators that we know. In addition, as a research program, we have extensive facilities to support you in your publication process at the end of the program. These facilities include in-house academic advisors. So we have a team of academic advisors who are all current PhD students from Oxford and Cambridge across a variety of fields, from economics to material sciences to philosophy and beyond, who are extremely in the know of what kinds of publications are available in the literature. And we have built up a proprietary publication database that allows us to perform what we call targeted publication support. What this means is that we have a policy where we do not target predatory journals. Unlike some of the other research programs, we do not guarantee publication for our students. This is because those programs that often do guarantee publication do so by targeting what are called predatory journals. These are pay-to-play journals that don't hold any actual water within academia. And it is our belief that students don't actually benefit from that on either a personal, intellectual, or an admissions perspective. What we instead do is have a database of different tiers of publications. we target undergraduate journals, undergraduate conferences, graduate conferences and workshops, as well as actual academic papers. And we fit the students' end product to the correct profile of publication channels. Finally, the thing that's finally worth mentioning in terms of our publication support is that we have a writing center. Our writing center is exclusively staffed by current PhD students from Oxford and Cambridge, and they are able to provide the kinds of expert guidance that help you produce the kinds of papers that are being expected at the publication level. So finally, the thing that I want to really stress about the Academy is that the Academy for us is not separate from the think tank. As I said, we're not just a think tank, we're not just an academy, we're a network of knowledge. What this means is that the unique position that the CCIR Academy allows us to have within current academia allows us to really connect with current researchers and academics and provide the legitimacy of a true academic institution. We're able to provide our students with connections and support that a lot of these other non-academic institutions aren't able to provide. So much for the highlights of our program. I think now we'll go into a little bit more detail about our individual programs. To begin, let's talk a little bit about the Future Scholar Program. Our Future Scholar Program is a highly selective online 2 to 5 student research program designed and taught by Oxbridge and Ivy faculty. For the winter session, we're offering 21 unique courses in fields ranging from STEM, business, the humanities, and the social sciences. A few highlights about the Future Scholar Program. The Future Scholar Program is as I mentioned, a 13-week program that is built on what we call a 50-50 structure. So as I mentioned, as you can see here, each course is divided into both a teaching section and a research section. In the first 6 to 7 weeks of the program, you're really focused on building up your basis of knowledge. And these 6 or 7 weeks are based off of actual first-year curriculum at Cambridge, Oxford, and Ivy League universities. During these 6 to 7 weeks, students will engage with their lecturers and their TAs, 1 hour with their lecturers each week and 1 hour with their TAs each week to gain the concepts, skills that will allow them in the latter half of the course to pursue their own independent research. In the latter half of the course, the focus of the program would begin shifting from much more of a lecture teaching style to a workshop, hands-on research style mentorship. Again, as I mentioned, these programs are really, really intimate. We cap each of our classes at 5 students. Each class is paired with 1 current faculty member and 1 Oxbridge PhD TA. Students will, over this 13 weeks, get to know their mentors really well and also get to know the other students of the class really well. And this is something I actually think isn't quite stressed enough about the Future Scholar Program, is how unique of an opportunity, especially at the high school level, to be able to meet other students who are passionate about what you are passionate about. Students who are, say, incredibly passionate about neuroscience or quantum computing at the high school level often aren't able to find peers in their immediate vicinity who are also passionate about neuroscience or also passionate about quantum computing. Here, we're really giving you the connections to meet other students, meet these exemplary researchers who are passionate about what you are passionate about. And this is often an incredibly, incredibly transformative experience for students. So the last thing I want to mention is that the Future Scholar course for the academic year program has been adapted to the academic year schedule. So roughly, students will put in more or less 4 total hours a week, which is including the 1 hour FaceTime with the professor and the 1 hour with the TA. I haven't mentioned it here, but in addition, students can always request additional individual 30-minute office hours with their professor to meet outside of class time to talk about their project or any sort of concepts that they don't understand. The courses will begin roughly in November and last 13 weeks and last into March or so. So this is sort of the highlight of our program every year is the courses that we offer. So as I mentioned, the Future Scholar program will be offering 21 unique courses that are designed to be super exciting and super engaging. Here I've just listed some of them, some of the newer courses that we're offering. As you can see, we have everything from quantum computing, particle physics, quantum mechanics, mathematical logic, regenerative neurobiology, neuroscience, molecular biology and neuroscience, computational genetics, bio-inspired robotics, material sciences and engineering, urban planning, and architectural technology. So as you can see, these are courses that are really, really quite challenging, and they dive really deep into fairly specific fields. The goal of these courses is really to offer materials and courses and opportunities for research that go beyond the possibilities of standard high school curriculum. We're also designing the course to be at once suitable for high school students, but also challenging enough so that they're producing work at the level of a first or second year undergraduate at a minimum. So there are, I actually didn't even notice, but all the courses that I had just mentioned were in STEM. We have in the past session really rapidly expanded our STEM course offerings, but we still maintain a very strong, a strong number of courses within the humanities and the social sciences. We have courses in everything from linguistics, psychology to philosophy. So I won't talk in too much detail about these courses. Feel free to ask me about them during the Q&A, but you'll be able to download the full prospectus at our website. And on our prospectus, you can see detailed abstracts about each of these courses. You'll get to learn about who's teaching them, what their background is, and these abstracts are all written by our professors, so you get a really good sense of what the course will be about, how challenging it is, whether it's suitable for you. So I'll speak briefly about the admissions of the Future Scholar program. In order to assure our students meet our rigorous academic standards, we use a 2-round vetting system for our admissions for the Future Scholar. Step 1, we invite students to fill in an application, send in a transcript, and send in any supplementary materials that you might have to showcase yourself. This could include standardized testing, writing samples, CVs, certificates, etc. Then we take all these materials and we basically offer a holistic evaluation that cuts off students that we don't think meet the basic academic criteria for the program. If you make it past the first round, we will then invite you to an interview. The interview is typically conducted either by your TA or your professor for the program. And the goal of, and these interviews are really designed in the Oxbridge style. So I don't know if you guys are familiar with Oxbridge admissions, but Oxbridge admissions, for Oxbridge admissions, interviews are an essential component of the admissions process. The goal of these interviews is at once to test your background knowledge of the discipline you're interested in, but also to test your problem-solving skills. So oftentimes during these interviews, you'd be asked questions that test what you already know and other kinds of questions that test how you think. Beyond this, however, the interview is less of an examination and much more of a conversation about your passions and aspirations. So your lecturer will likely be really focusing on why you're applying to this program, why you care, let's say, about material sciences, what's driven you to the discipline, what do you want to do with this in the future. So the interview has a sort of evaluative component, but I would generally advise students not to worry about it too much, because typically the focus of these interviews will be on a conversation on your passions and aspirations. Because your academic materials have already been vetted, our focus is really to see whether you'd be a good fit for this course. So as you guys can see, the admissions deadline for this program are two. We have an early admissions deadline on October 9th and a regular admissions deadline on October 23rd. The early admissions deadline has a slightly, I think, a £200 discount in terms of the admissions costs. And then our program start date will be around November 1st, depending on the specific course you take. Okay, so that pretty much sums it up for the Future Scholar program. I'll be happy to answer any sort of questions you guys have later. I'm sure you guys have many. But let's turn briefly to the one-on-one mentorship program. So the one-on-one mentorship is a bespoke research experience we offer for one student, one mentor, and one project. The goal of these programs is to help you explore what you want the way you want. What this means is that there's an immense amount of flexibility built into the one-on-one mentorship program. What I like to say is that the one-on-one mentorship is uniquely flexible, both in terms of the content of the program and the structure of the program. This means that you can study very specific topics that, let's say, aren't being offered at the in the Future Scholar programs. So I have written here, if you're passionate, say, about topological physics, or if you're interested in 13th century Spanish monastic history, well, our faculty are too. We have a wide network of faculty members distributed over Oxford, Cambridge, and the Ivy League universities who work with us, who've partnered with us, and they are constantly sort of on call looking for potential mentees to begin one of these mentorship experiences. This means that you can really get quite specific in terms of what you want to be studying here. Even though the Future Scholar program is already incredibly specific, if you want something that isn't being offered there, we always have something here for you at the one-on-one mentorship program. So turning now to the flexibility built into the structure of this program. The first thing to mention is that we have rolling admissions for this program. This means that the one-on-one mentorship is available all year round, and this means that it has a flexible start date. In addition, however, it's also highly flexible in terms of its schedule. For the one-on-one mentor, for the Future Scholar program, we're always incredibly mindful of student schedules. We understand that our students come from all over the world. We have students coming from North America, Europe, Africa, Asia, the Middle East, all over the place. And we work to ensure that we are able to find a time that fits everybody's schedules very comfortably. We never have students staying up, say, later than 11 o'clock in the evening, and we are not going to make you wake up at 5 in the morning. We're really committed, and we've never failed to provide a time that works for everyone. However, for the one-on-one mentorship program, you have even more flexibility. This is because it's just you and the mentor. So if you guys need to move the schedule around, it's really incredibly easy. But more than this, the flexibility introduced by the structure is also a matter of how you distribute your sessions. So a typical one-on-one mentorship program is composed of 14 one-hour sessions with your mentor. How you distribute these 14 sessions is really up to you and up to your mentor. And how you optimize your structure, we allow for an incredible amount of flexibility. So, for example, suppose you want to do a regular program that's one session per week over 14 weeks. That's perfectly fine. However, some students like to shift things around so that they have a more intensive program. So instead of a 14-week program, they might do a 10-week program, where the first 4 weeks have 8 sessions, 2 sessions per week, and the latter 6 weeks have 1 session per week. This way, they concentrate the teaching and the lecturing within the first half of the course, within that first month. And during the latter 6 weeks of the course, you have a much more paced out program where you're focusing on your writing and focusing on your research. The structure of your program will be something that you and your mentor work out together. So this is what we mean by a tailor-made program, a bespoke program. Having a lot of customizability, a lot of flexibility can be a little bit dizzying sometimes, but we provide you the support, we guide you, we tailor your course for you so that you really get an optimized experience. So our team of academic advisors that I mentioned earlier, our PhD advisors, beginning from early on in the admissions process, and your mentor and our academic team will work together to design the perfect course for you, given your needs and your interests. And this is what we mean by study what you want, the way you want. This course allows for really endless possibilities in terms of the way you want to be engaging with research and what you want to be researching. So as the slide says, we have way too many areas available to list. You can learn a little bit more about, there's I think a slightly bigger list on our prospectus, so you can take a look at that. But I'm not going to read all of these out, but these are some of the selected research areas of our past students. You can be doing anything from artificial intelligence to a research paper on cryptocurrency, to a research paper on decolonial studies. What you want to be studying is really up to you, and you have immense freedom in terms of your research area. So I'll say a little bit about the admissions of the one-on-one program. So the admissions for the one-on-one program is relatively involved, and this is because the one-on-one program is a tailor-made course. Admissions thus takes a 3-step process. The aim of this process is to help match you with the right mentor and to help you create and design the perfect mentorship experience. So the 3 steps. The first step is that you apply. Much like the Future Scholar program, we're going to ask for your application and a transcript and whatever supplementary materials that you can provide us with to showcase who you are. Then we will set up an intake meeting with you where we will begin initiating the course design process. Here, we're really just trying to meet you and tell you a little bit more information about the course, about the program, and get a sense of what you want out of it, what kinds of interests you have, so that we may begin thinking about what kinds of courses will be suitable for you. Students who pass the initial academic vetting will then be invited to an interview/advising session. We call this interview/advising session because it's not simply an interview. So a component of this session will be much like the Future Scholar interview, where it's really evaluative. We're looking at your background, the way you think. But beyond this, the purpose of this session will be to help you to give you a little bit of advice and direction on the possibilities available for you in this experience. So the reason we do this is because even though most of our students come in with pretty strong passions and clear directions of research, conducting a research project will require much more specificity oftentimes than you at first expect. And the goal here with this advising session is not just to understand your background, but to help you articulate your interests better. So let's say, for instance, we have a student, just for example, who is interested in, let's say, the history of the 20th century women's movement in the United Kingdom. Now, such a project can take a number of different directions. You could pursue this from a women's studies perspective, a history perspective, a sociology or anthropology perspective. You could even pursue it from a philosophy perspective. I'm sure there are other perspectives that I can't think of, but the goal here is to help you get a sense of the field of possibilities and to guide you a little bit on how you might navigate that field. So this is why the interview and advising session for the one-on-one mentorship program is conducted by one of our in-house PhD academic advisors. So these students come from, so these academic advisors are all current students at Oxford and Cambridge for the most part. And what they'll do during the session is talk to you about your interests and give you a better sense of what kinds of opportunities are available for you. You might be interested in particle physics, but you might not understand what kinds of hot topics are currently the buzz in academia today. The goal of this session is to help give you that sense. So once this interview and advising session is over, we'll record that session and bundle it up with your application, transcript, and supplementary materials, and we'd share it to the relevant mentors in our network. We would send it out, say, for someone interested in particle physics, to all the different physicists and particle physicists that we work with. Once someone responds and says, I'm interested in working with this student, we'll set up an introductory meeting for you between you and your mentor. So one thing to say here is that at CCIR, we're very much committed to allowing our mentors to have the final admission say for our programs. This means that your introductory meeting also has a slight evaluative component. For the most part, though, students who make it through this process to the third step are going to be, generally speaking, have a very, very good shot at being admitted to the program. And the conversation during the introductory meeting will, for the most part, be a conversation about your background and your aspirations. Why are you doing this course? Why do you love this thing that you want to explore for 14 weeks? And what kinds of topics do you want to explore, and what kinds of topics can we explore together? So as I mentioned, admissions for the one-on-one mentorship is available all year. This means that you could apply now and we could set up a program for the spring. We could set up a program for the summer. We can really tailor the program to be sort of any length you want. You're not bound to the 14-week structure. If you want a more spaced out program and do it over 28 weeks, that's very much possible. The key about the one-on-one mentorship is the immense flexibility it offers. So I'll say finally a little bit about our student profile. So I guess I was wrong about the average incoming GPA. We only recently went through the process of calculating all our statistics again after the summer round had ended. Our average incoming SAT score is around 15, 16. And keep in mind, we are actually test optional. So the SAT score might be a little bit inflated because the students who actually send us their SAT are the ones who get excellent, excellent scores. Our average incoming GPA, however, is not inflated, and it's 3.9. So these are a little bit scary numbers, I would say, for some students. And I would here offer a little bit of some words to maybe soften the terror of these numbers, which is that we do take a very holistic approach in terms of our admissions. So what we care about in our admissions is that you are able to thrive in the program that you're applying to. What this means is that, let's say you're applying to the computational genetics course in the Future Scholar program, and your GPA is not 3.9, but rather 3.65. Still a solid GPA. And we take a look at your transcript and see that you've gotten A's in biology all 3 years of high school. However, your history grades have fluctuated, your art grades weren't so good. We, to be totally honest, won't care so much about the history and art grades. What we care about is that you are passionate about what you're studying and that you are good at what you want to be doing. We want you to thrive in our programs, and that's why we go through such an arduous admissions process. In terms of our acceptance rate for the one-on-one mentorship, our acceptance rate is roughly we've broken it down in terms of the two-step process. 34% of our applicants are invited to an academic interview. And ultimately, 31% of the applicants receive an offer. For the Future Scholar program, the acceptance is rather similar, a slightly higher rate, where we have 38.9% of the applicants being invited to an interview and 35.1% of the applicants receiving an offer at the end of the day. So we've also included some of the selected university offers of our alumni. I've mentioned earlier the unique admissions edge that our programs are able to give our students. This is something we are really committed to and that we believe sincerely, which is that research is a unique and excellent way to gain a unique admissions edge. Keep in mind that admissions officers are people who are in academia. They're people who interact and work with researchers on a day-to-day basis. They understand what research is. They understand the value of it, how difficult it is. Seeing a high school student pursue a high-level independent research project is an achievement they immediately recognize. So I won't go through the names of all these different universities that our past students have gone to, but you can take a look there. They've been listed there. There are a lot more. All this is to say, our students come from extremely strong backgrounds. They do amazing, amazing things at our programs. We have a YouTube series with our student spotlight where you can learn more about the details of each student's individual research projects. Past students have conducted amazing, amazing research projects on everything from computer vision to gender politics and to in-depth historical analysis. So I'd really encourage you guys to check out the student spotlight if you guys haven't yet. That's a really good chance to learn a little bit more about what our students do at our programs. And the last thing I want to say is that our students leave our programs and go on to do really incredible things. So that was a whole bunch of information. I just shot at you guys over the past 45 minutes. As you can see here, there's the admissions deadline, there's our contact information. You can find here my email, which is oliver@cambridgeresearch.org. I'll put that in the chat later. I think I'll also have one of my colleagues share our latest prospectus directly in the chat, so you don't have to necessarily download it via the website. But now I am going to end my screen share and turn it over to you guys to ask any questions you guys may still have to me about the programs. So I'll open the floor. Are there any questions